Well, I've got my new Lumix LX 100 camera, and it's taking a video of another camera. So this is the front facing camera, and I've made a little multi-position adjustable bracket. So this actually goes right in the center under the car. I'll mount it and show it to you again, and so I can see if I'm going to run into any concrete blocks with my spoiler, that kind of thing. The way it works is the mirror, the rear view mirror has got two video inputs, so one for rear facing, which automatically pops into, when you're in reverse, it pops it up, and this is the forward side, and I've also got a temperature sensor that runs from the mirror that'll run to the back of this as well. So I'll attach the temperature sensor, and then we'll get nice ambient air. Turns out I have 10 temperature sensors in this car. I have interior air temperature, all of the air conditioning ones, including the air going into the evaporator and coming out of it, and then all of the coolant lines, and the rear amplifier, and the compressor itself, and so geez, temperature sensors coming out the yin-yang. Anyway, I'm also got the seats heaters going, and caling and the carpets for the seats are in the house right now. So I've mounted the forward facing camera here, so I can adjust it by just sliding it up and down, but yeah, we'll see. I think it'll clear the spoiler okay. And then I decided I would put the, where is it here, can you see it? That's the temperature sensor for the camera, and I decided not to put it over here because it was just too close to the heat from the oil and water system. So anyway, I'll show you how the backup camera works now. Okay, so I will turn on the ignition, and first thing that comes up is the forward facing camera, and temperature 18 degrees C and direction. You can always just hit the button and kill that image if you don't like it, and then put it in reverse, and the other backup camera comes in, and away you go. So if you're going to pull up against something and you want to see what's in front of you, and you don't want to hit the spoiler or something, or the oil pan, worse I guess, you can hit the button again and look at the forward view. So that brings the wiring of the car to a close, other than the I've got the stereo harness in now as well. So I'm just going to put the speaker wires in, and I've got the seat connector here for the seat heater, and this one I'm just going to do now, and then that's basically it. I've got the seats and the carpet inside. I'm going to show you in a sec, and I'll put the dash in now, I guess. So here's the super deluxe carpet and the seats and stuff. I'm gonna have to cut holes in this nice carpet to get it in the car. It's got rubber backing on it, and then the felt under each of the seat areas, and it is, long enough and wide enough and everything. I've measured it. It goes all the way up under the dash. What else? Yeah, so the upholstery guy that did the seats, he's got the seat heaters in, and they're underneath one layer of foam. So there's 1/4 inch of foam, and then the seat heater, and then the rest of the foam. And so when you turn the seat heater on, it takes a little while for the heat to come through all the fabric and the foam. But they work beautifully. I'm going to have to change the wiring on this. The stock wiring. I'm going to use weatherpack connectors and change the lengths and change the wiring a little bit to suit my needs. And then I'll put the seats. I'll fully assemble the seats. I've got to replace these things dissolve. The plastic just goes to shit after a few years, and I thought I'd use the new ones that I bought, but the seat guy went and put the old ones back on, and as soon as I went to play with the mechanism, it just dissolved. So I'll have to put the other ones on, and same thing here. There's a few of these old collars that need to be pulled out and new ones put in, and the pins put back in, and then that stuff is going to be golden. So obviously super looking forward to you know, having this in the car. It's going to make a huge feel to have this stuff put in. So while I wait for the cloth electrical tape and a few more electrical connectors just to finish off a few electrical things, I'm working on the steering column. So this steering column has an internal ID of about 28.5, 29 millimeters, and the collar that I had figured out was too thick. And just a little bit of brain fart there, so I'm using some of my carbide, it's like a $500 drill set, carbide bits to drill out the inside. So I've got some stock here, some round stock of brass, just a little easier to work with obviously than steel. And I've got the OD at 28.7 or 28.8 millimeters, and then the inside at 22. So this is a 7/8 drill bit, which is 22 millimeters. So this will, then I'll cut it off, and I'll actually put 4 small set screws in that are going to be flush with the surface, and that'll fit onto the end of the shaft of the steering shaft, and provide me just a little bit more stiffness and stability. Plus I have a new whole bearing assembly that I'm going to put in, so just make sure the steering column is absolutely buttoned down, nice and tight. So we've got the old lock mechanism, the old bearing, and this says Mexico on it, so it's probably a replacement to the original. But I got another one. The difference being the bearing in here is a little sloppy. It moves around, the collar moves around. This one's nice and tight. I like this one. And then I got a new, just because I'm taking it all apart, just a replacement switch unit. And a bit kludgy, the way the Germans did it, but you have to drill this little access hole to push the spring down here to release this from the old housing, so I can move it over to the new housing. So I'm doing that so that I don't have to do everything 3 times. So the collar is made. I'll show you that collar in a few minutes, and but I want to put this in, then put the collar in, and not have to reverse my order. So yeah, when you put this key in and out now, I can't do it with one hand, but when you put the key in and out with the new mechanism, it's just like butter smooth. The old one's a bit clunky, and the new one is feeling awesome.
So you can see down inside the brass ring, the collar, and that plus the new bearing. This thing is absolutely rigid, so no slop at all, and so I'm very happy with the way that's turned out. So I finished epoxying all of these what they're called male insert O-ring connectors on. So for the larger condenser, I've got number 6, and then I've got number 8 on the evaporator. So same thing here. I've taken the thermal expansion valve, the TXV, and I've epoxied on
number 6 inlet, number 8 outlet. So this guy feeds into here from here through the filter dryer unit. So I've now got the ability to use quick connect hoses everywhere. Professional AC hoses everywhere that are flexible. I'm using what's referred to as reduced barrier hose, so it's a thinner overall outside diameter. So yeah, this worked really well. I'm very, very happy with how this all came together. Yep, it's sunroof time. So I have the sunroof all painted and all prepped, but the rest of the materials, other than being cleaned, need to be re-epoxied. The guides and cable guides and things. I also lost. I had new cables, but so I had to reorder them. I don't know where they are. They're hidden away. And the Bentley manual, not useless but close. Found a few other drawings on the internet how to put it all back together. Plus my brain. It's been a long time since I took it apart, so I got it figured now. I'm missing a few things. First of all, the wind deflector and the levers for the wind deflector on these cars rot away pretty quick, and people discard them because they keep the sunroof from opening and closing when they bust. So I've got the new deflector coming from VW Heritage in the UK. Seems to be the only place that's got new ones. And the levers, I've got some from a wrecker coming that I'll clean up and re-epoxy. The only thing I couldn't find anywhere and I'm missing are the springs that, and I've just sort of got this sort of set up here. So the lever, or the lift lever arms that slide on the trays, there's a metal spring steel bracket that clips underneath here and then holds the lifter mechanism. So it sort of provides a gravity assist to holding the roof down. So when the roof slides forward and you crank it forward, it'll lift up. When these pieces hit the ramp here, they pops up, and this allows it to be forced back down rather than just having gravity bring it down. So I'm missing those. I'm sure the roof works pretty much fine without the springs, but I'm going to make them and put them back in, since I can't find old ones. By the way, it's always interesting looking at stuff like the Mark 1 and the Mark 2 sunroofs are the same, so reused, but a lot of the Mark 1 and Mark 2 sunroof stuff actually comes from the original Beetle, the Bug days from the 60s. So components are shared. And that goes for the seats, the seat winder, mechanisms in the seats, which I'm working on at the same time. That a lot of that stuff comes from the Beetles as well. So, and then I have to reupholster the cloth piece there with the new upholstery. So this afternoon I'm going to finish cleaning up these parts. By the way, the manual shows that the front cable tray is 2 pieces plus a bunch of individual components. In my case, it's all pre-assembled and spot welded together, and I haven't seen any drawings that describe that, but it shows you that you just have to sort of feel your way forward when working with sunroofs. So I'm looking forward to getting the sunroof done. The old painting this afternoon. So I'm working on the seats, trying to get all the bits organized. One of these colors is busted, so I found a source on the internet for some replacement colors. That's where the seat release, the fold back release clamps. I've got weatherpack connectors on there now and shortened the cables so they're good. And I'm using stiff foam, stiffer than the stock foam, just so it's sort of a more of a modern and more firmer feel. I think I told you that these little latch things, they busted. The other thing is the springs. There's a spring on either side that holds the release mechanism one of the springs is missing. Ha! So I've ordered a bunch of generic springs to see if I can work something. And then one of the cables, the release cables, is a bit short. Sorry, it's a bit too long. So I'm going to do surgery on it. I'm literally going to cut the cable and then, you know, splice it with a crimp, with a aluminum crimp. Got my new parts for the sunroof from Mark 1 Auto House. And so I've got new cables and a new winder mechanism, not winder mechanism, handle. And I've got all new plastic and color coded it all. So I'm now just trying to figure out with drawings what goes where. Got new seat slider bushings and plastic. So yeah, I'm kind of fiddling with sunroof stuff, and I'll show you more of that in a sec, and seat stuff amongst other things right now. So yeah, even more parts here. So lots of fiddling with small parts, trying to figure out where they go. We got these painted up because they were looking ratty, and then sorry, everything's messy around here right now. Sunroof mechanism stuff. So got this stuff powder coated or epoxied coated, and so sanded and painted it and sanded it and painted it until it all looked pretty. I've got the new wind deflector front large piece coming from the UK. It's gonna be here on Monday, it looks like. And then down on my bicycle pump here, I got these today and refinished them. These are the deflector lever handles. So, you know, they were in great shape. Often these things are rotted out, but these are in good shape. They just needed to be sanded, primed, and painted, and let those dry for a few days and get good and hard. And then way up here, this took me a couple of days. This strange thing, let me zoom out a little bit. So this is the manifold for the air intake into the blower. So what sits on top of here is the evaporator. So the evaporator with strips of what do you call that stuff again? Velcro. So I'll have strips of Velcro that'll just hold the evaporator on, and then this will actually be, evaporator will be, this will be attached, this manifold will be attached to the blower, and it sits on top of the computer actually. I have to just drill a little hole and make a little drain pipe so that the water that collects underneath the evaporator will drain out of the area, not onto the computer. And then I have a cap that goes on the other side of the blower so that the blower will only pull air from one side. And it looks like a small opening, but it's actually fairly large. And that should work just fine. So a couple of days of fiddling on the metalwork on that side to get that done. So what's left to do, I'm going to re-clear the doors because I don't like the finish. Wet sanding finish is a bit wavy because I was using a dual action sander on it rather than just the cross pattern with the wet sanding with a block. So not happy with the waviness in the sunlight, so I'm going to re-clear the doors. I've got a few little bloopers, some little rust spots that popped through on one of the fenders, so I may end up rebasing and re-clearing both fenders. We'll have a look to see if the other one's got any imperfections. And then I've got a little bit of damage in a few spots from, you know, thousands of hours of being in and out of the car. So I'm actually going to go and do some painting in the car. And so I gotta build bumpers for the car as well. And other than that, I'm ready to go in terms of slamming the interior into the thing and putting the windows in and that kind of stuff, and then sticking the the decals on it, all the final stuff. So I got about 100 to 200 hours worth of work left to do before it's absolutely finished. But I'm now thinking that what I'm going to do is basically just get it mechanically complete at this point, and then probably get it certified, not get everything perfectly finished before I drive it. So we'll see.